Daily, people's lives are filled with trouble, pain, and sin. With so much to burden, people desperately seek quick solutions to ease or hide their pain. Some easily turn to unhealthy alternatives like drinking or using drugs. Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Some are reluctant to seek God's intervention because they do not know how to pray.
So how does one learn how to pray? Prayer is modeled. With directions, we can learn how to pray. Bible characters have given us great examples of how to pray, when to pray, and what to pray for. Prayer is practiced. With more opportunities, we emulate our thoughts to God. It becomes easier to talk to Him. Prayer becomes personal. As we continue to see the effects of prayer in our lives, we are inclined to continue personal conversations with God, our Creator. In the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, God's word suggests that if we train a child in the way he should go, when he is old, he will not turn from it. These are the words of wisdom, something that can be applied even to prayer.
My prayer story. As a young girl, I remember clearly how my parents taught me how to pray. I would repeat words and gestures. That's when they introduced me to God. I understood that praying was talking and listening to God. As a youth, I continued to develop my voice during my conversations with God. Given more opportunity to pray allowed me to concentrate on talking honestly to Him about what is on my mind and heart. Today, as a young adult, my prayers have evolved into a special, deeper, and personal conversation with God. As often as I commune with Him, I am constantly moved by Him.
How did prayer begin in your life?
I grew up in an Adventist family, and that would probably be the roots of how I learned to pray. And throughout my life, that's always been my connection to God. When I start to feel down, feel like life isn't going so good, I say, God, I need to talk.
I learned by praying from basically kind of watching, and then also my dad's parents and just my mom kind of just showing me how to do it and just kind of telling me what the meaning of prayer and stuff was.
As I was growing up, me and my family, we had worship together, and afterwards we would just pray, I guess, and I guess I learned from that.
I grew up watching my parents pray, and so they didn't say, okay, this is how you pray and blah, 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 but I just watched them, and I go, okay, that's how I pray. But
How important is prayer in your life?
I think prayer is important in my life because it brings me closer to God and it makes me be a better person.
I see prayer as being a connection between God and I, because when you pray, it's not just me connecting with God. That gives God a chance to connect with me.
When my husband died, about 4.5 years ago, it was a very devastating situation for me. I think if it wasn't for prayer, I would have just fallen apart. The Lord just gave me peace, and I was able to go through those difficult first few months, and even though I still miss Him and I still think of Him a lot, prayer has just been constant with me.
I ended up in the hospital, leaving an ambulance from my school, and I prayed that I'd get through it and that everything would be okay, and I felt that God was there, and the next day I was better and I was released from the hospital.
So many things in my life I can see where the power of prayer got us through a lot of things. During the war, when we were trapped in a war way back where I was born, in the west coast of Africa, There are times, moments that you will be by yourself, and all you can do is just ask God to be with you and ask Him to shelter you. And I believe very strongly that prayer is one of the things that secured our lives, my life with my siblings, and saved us, and we survived that war.
How do you pray today?
The way I pray varies with the situation. And sometimes when I'm angry, I'm upset, or I'm afraid, or something like that, altogether different kinds of prayers. Because God is a Father that wants to hear from His children. And when I finally got that through this thick skull, it made things a lot easier for me. I feel like I'm closer to God.